Welcome to Horseshoe'n Time, filmed live at the Farriers National Research Center and School here in Villanelle, Georgia. Hey, if you want your horse to be active, whether it's showing, trail riding, or pleasure riding, he needs to be healthy, in good physical condition, and properly trimmed or shod. After all, a happy horse makes a happy owner. In 1989, Ralph Casey began using a high-speed video camera and an adjustable shoe to study how to make horses perform better and run faster without injury. Casey became the leader in the field of farrier science. His research sparked such an interest, a group was formed to build the first Farriers National Research Center in the world. The purpose of the Fnrc is to continue the study of shoeing and balancing a horse, not only to make the horse perform better, but to stop some of the serious injuries created from improper shoeing. Today, Casey can make the horse perform better and run faster than ever before. Horse owners are fortunate to have access to the only Farrier National Research Center in the U.S. dedicated to the study of farrier science. And here to tell us more is our host of Horseshoe'n Time, Ralph Casey.
Hey gang, welcome to Horseshoe'n Time. I'm Ralph Casey, and we just going to have a great time. We've got a great show because today, for the first time, we're going to be talking about the 15 years of research we've did here. In fact, we started research in about 18 years ago when we first started. And I kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. When we started with an old washing machine motor, and I took and I welded a wheelbarrow hub on that little jewel, and I had a rope that ran about 100 yards. And you can see when you look at it that we were having a great time. And in fact, once we begin to analyze in slow motion, we begin to see a lot of errors that we had been taught over the years about farrier science. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, we get hundreds of cards and letters, gang, from not only farriers but horse owners asking questions, and I gotta apologize because remember, we don't have a big staff here, and so sometimes it takes months for somebody to get back to you. And it's not always me. I try to answer as many as I possibly can. Now, we're going to be talking about some of the things that we have found out here. And right behind me, and while we're showing this, we're going to show bits and pieces of how we found out this information. Now, we've already took a look at some of the old gear. Let's take a look at some of the new. And you can see here, we've got a more modern treadmill. The old treadmill, I don't even think we got any pictures of that, gang. But as you're looking at the treadmill, we put people on there, and that's one there is my son. And what we found out during that time, that was during a Christmas time, we were testing out barefoot versus shoeing versus using aluminum shoes. We were doing all three. And we found out a heck of a lot. Now, we're using thermal imaging. But we can back up. We have all kind of equipment here, and we're going to be talking about some of that equipment as we're going along. But here's some of the things, gang, that we're going to talk about, and then we'll talk about the DVDs that we have for specialty shoeing to correct some of these problems. So we're going to start off right here on the board, and I'm going to get our camera lady to move in. And we're going to take a look at the first picture here is stumbling. Okay, now, gang, let's talk in common sense. If you stumble, we all do occasionally. But if you're stumbling often, there's possibly something wrong, okay? So let's take a look at some of the things that can create stumbling. So we look back, and this is the reason I encourage you as a horse owner to get that DVD of Grammar School of Trimming and Shoeing. Remember, gang, the Grammar School of Trimming and Shoeing is not to teach you how to shoe your horse or how to trim. It gives you all the questions you should be asking your farrier. It is free for the asking. All you have to do, gang, is pay postage and handling. So don't forget that, we have a staff, but we have to pay those folks, and we don't have any grants or money piling in here to help pay for those things. So we have to make the DVDs, and we have to package them up, and we have to mail them, plus we have to pay for somebody to answer that phone. So there is a little charge for that. I used to encourage everyone to ask to see the certification card. Today I go a step farther. We must educate ourselves about our horses. Okay? So let's take a look at just a few things on the grammar school DVD that can cause a horse to stumble. Saddling. You can see here we have a saddle. One is moved too far forward, one is too far back. So you need to really understand the saddle needs to be sitting on the horse correct. Second, the rider must understand how to ride the horse, because in motion, if you got throw your weight to one side, you can create and cause a horse to stumble. Remember, he's afraid of falling just like you and I, so we can create these problems. Now we have a special DVD that goes through many things about stumbling and how to correct it. So I encourage you. Now those DVDs are not free, okay? And a lot of the AFA members and a lot of farriers, they want me to put this on free. You know, when you go to school, you have to pay to go to college. A lot of people spend a lot of time to come down here. I'm not the only apple on the tree here, gang. So a lot of guys have come and helped, and we did the research. And here's the thing. Those guys deserve to get paid for all the work they put into it. So all the money that's on these DVDs goes to those guys that help do the research, okay, and pay their expenses. So if your horse is stumbling often, we have a special DVD for that. Then here's another picture. Here we get in overreaching. Now, let me point this out. This is the hind foot here, okay, and the tip of the toe on this hind foot is reaching, grabbing the front foot on the same side, the bulbs or higher. Anytime it gets, or even on the hoof itself, but not the bottom. If it was on the bottom, we call that clicking or forging, you'd hear it. But when the back foot, the toe of that back foot reaches up and gets a hairline or the back of the hoof or even up in your past or anywhere along in there, then you got overreaching. Now when a horse is doing that, we have a special DVD for that. And I'm going over this slow where you'll know what DVD, so be sure when you call that number on the screen, gang, that you specify what DVD you want, because everything won't be on one DVD, okay? And remember, there is a charge for that. Next is elbow hitting. And if you get into those lines, we got a special DVD for elbow hitting. Now, forging, okay? Forging is when, and here's your hind foot again, here. This hind foot is striking on the bottom of the shoe, somewhere on the bottom of the shoe, on the same side. And most of you guys out there and gals, you call that clicking. Farriers call it forging, okay? Now, we'll show you what a lot of farriers do. They don't fix it, they cover it up. And it's easy to cover it up. We show it where you slide the shoe back, leave the hoof hanging over, and you can't hear it anymore. It's a throb. But here's the thing, gang. You covered it up, you didn't fix it. Any of these problems here can create, and I guess it's about 18 years ago, we came out with a pink book, we called it. And the heading was riding an improperly shod horse in danger, not only the horse, but the rider as well. So remember that, gang. Horse needs to be shod correctly. Remember, we're going to talk about the knowledge of this farrier in just a minute, how much he needs to know and how many years it takes.